Hey there, and welcome. We all have to make decisions every single day, right? At work, at home. But how do we know if we're making the smart decisions? Well, the answer is usually hidden in the data that's all around us. In this explainer, we're going to dive into something called data literacy. It's basically a superpower that helps anyone in any job make way better, more impactful choices.
All right, so when you really boil it down, every decision we make in business comes down to this one simple choice. Are we just taking a shot in the dark, relying on guesswork? Or are we actually fueling our success with real data? The path you pick, well, it changes everything. And wow, the difference is night and day, right? On one side, you have guesswork. It feels quick, sure, but it almost always leads to wasted money, time, and some serious missed opportunities. You're basically flying blind. But on the other side, you've got growth. This is where you're making smarter decisions and achieving real strategic success, because you're not just hoping you're right, you have the facts to back it up. So, how do we get from that guesswork side of the fence over to the growth side? What's the secret sauce? Well, it's a skill, and it's called data literacy. This is the absolute key to navigating our modern world and turning all that information into a launchpad for success. Okay, so what is data literacy, really? Simply put, it's the ability to look at a bunch of raw data, a jumble of numbers and facts, and pull out something meaningful. It's about turning that chaos into a clear story that you can actually use to make smart business moves. I love this quote because it hits the nail on the head. Data gives us hints. It doesn't just hand us the answer on a silver platter. That means being data literate isn't just about reading a chart. It's about thinking critically. You have to be a bit of a detective, ask the right questions, and understand the context behind the numbers. And to really understand that story the data is telling you, it helps to see the journey it takes. I mean, it doesn't just magically appear as a brilliant idea. It actually goes through a whole process, a kind of life cycle, before it can really power a big decision. Think of this journey in 4 simple steps. First, you have to ask the right question. What are you even trying to figure out? Second, you collect and clean the data. Trust me, it almost always needs a little tidying up. Third, you analyze it. This is where you look for those patterns and trends. And finally, you interpret and share it. You turn your findings into a story that actually inspires people to take action. Now that analyze step can get pretty cool. It breaks down into 4 types, and each one answers a different question. Descriptive is like looking in the rearview mirror. It tells you what happened. Diagnostic is like being a mechanic, asking, why did it happen? Predictive is looking through the windshield, what's gonna happen. And then there's prescriptive, which is like your GPS telling you the best route. What should we do about it? Each one gives you a deeper, more powerful insight. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds like a job for a data scientist, not me. But here's the thing. In a truly smart organization, everybody has a role to play when it comes to data. Everybody. It really boils down to 2 main roles. You've got your data producers. These are the folks who create or prepare data for other people. Think about the person who puts together that weekly sales report. Then you've got your data consumers. They're the ones who take that report and use it to make decisions, like a manager deciding to change staffing levels based on those sales numbers. So, quick question for you. Which one are you? Do you spend most of your time building reports, or are you using them to make calls? Honestly, for a lot of us, the answer is we're both. We kind of switch between those 2 hats all the time, depending on what we're working on. Okay, enough with the theory, right? Let's make this real. How does all this data literacy stuff actually make a difference in the real world? Let's check out a super practical example from a retail store. So this store, they decided to stop guessing and start listening. They started looking at 2 things: what customers were actually telling them in feedback, and the hard data on what people were buying each week. They wanted the real story. And what they found was a total aha moment. The data showed 2 huge problems. First, they were totally understaffed during their busiest hours. And second, some of their most popular products were tucked away in corners where nobody could find them. Now, an aha moment is totally useless if you don't do something about it. So, they took action. They changed the staff schedules to make sure more people were working during those peak times, and they did a total redesign of the store layout to put the products people wanted right where they could see them. And the result? Get this, a 20% increase in customer satisfaction. That is a huge deal. It's the perfect example of how connecting data to an insight to a smart action can make a real measurable difference. That's data literacy in action.
So you're probably thinking, okay, I'm sold, but where do I even begin? The great news is you don't have to launch some massive company-wide project. The real key is just to start small. Here is a super simple two-step challenge for you. Step 1. Just think about your own job. What does being data literate actually look like for you? Step 2. Find just one decision you have to make this week that you can make just a little bit better by looking at some data first. That's it. Just start there. At the end of the day, being data literate is really about becoming a storyteller, someone who can look at a bunch of numbers and tell a story that makes sense. So I'll leave you with this one question to chew on. What amazing story is your data just waiting to tell?